it's Sam, and this is my spoilery gush on American Gods by Neil Gaiman. As I said, this video will have spoilers, so if you haven't read this book, go ahead and check out my spoiler-free review, which will be linked on the screen. So I went into this book not knowing a ton about it, which was really great. I knew it obviously had mythology, and I knew that it was going to be a show, or it already is a show, and whatever. But I didn't really know a ton about the plot, which was really fantastic, because then I wasn't really spoiled for anything. And I overall ended up really enjoying this book. I really like I mentioned in my review, how it blended old different religions from around the world with American culture. All of the different, you know, side road attractions being places of power I geeked out over. When we went to House on the Rock, I was dying because I've gone there probably like 6 times in my entire life because I grew up in the Midwest. It's very close to where I live. It's a field trip attraction for so many people. So it's great because I could picture everything. I was like, this is so cool. So while I know that not everyone's going to have that experience with the book because they haven't been there, it like really spoke to me. I live very close to I grew up very close to the Illinois-Wisconsin border. So the fact that this book takes place in a lot of that area really resonated with me. And I just really like stories that have this kind of place of power thing, and that's kind of where you can do like the go-between. Those kinds of things really are something that I like seeing in books. I also really liked how just complex all these characters were and how they're not really good or bad people. I think his wife Laura is a really good example of that. When you first hear that she cheated on him, and like that was just a very jarring experience, but the fact that they're still able to sort of have this relationship, this dynamic even after that, I think is so much more of a human experience. I know some people have very strict moral codes on a lot of things, and there's some that I agree with and some that I don't. But I like in fiction seeing when characters are able to question those gray areas and see that things don't just exist in black and white, and Shadow was very much like that. Just having a like zombie wife was some of the weirdest things that I wouldn't have even imagined. But like also when one of the first cutaway scenes is of a woman swallowing a man with her vagina, you know the book's gonna be weird. But I liked how, even though I liked Wednesday, you know, Odin, that I also didn't like him at times, and even like Anansi, well, I liked him a little more, and like some of the other characters are just like, these people, there's no real good and bad side. They're all being manipulated. I kind of loved how the whole thing was a trick, and that's hinted at from the beginning, but that it was all just a trick, an Odin trick and a Loki trick. I was also like, I knew from the beginning, obviously you have a character named Loki. It took him forever to figure that out. I'm like, his name is literally Loki. But I liked seeing all the different gods. I really love the Russian gods in particular, the sisters and stuff. I thought they were really fun. And I'm interested to see how all these characters are depicted in the show. I do plan on watching the show. I don't know if I have access to it, so a lot of people have asked me that if I'm going to watch a show. I don't know if I have access to it. I have Netflix, but I don't think I subscribe to the channel that it's on, so we'll see if I can get it somehow. But I would like to do discussions of like how different it is. And I also want to watch the show when I have a little more distance from this, because I know it is going to be different. But for example, I saw Easter in a lot of the promotional material for the show, and it's like, she's not a really huge character in this. I also wonder if the show is going to add, and you guys will probably tell me in the comments, but if it's going to add a little more dimension to the female characters, because like I said in my review, there's not a ton of that. I think Laura's the only one who gets fully realized in the end, and the other ones are either like I said, the virgins or the whores. You have like a lot of the Egyptian, you know, goddesses being like, you know, he has sex with the cat one, and you have the girl who swallows people with her vagina, and you have Laura being like, you know, portrayed as like a, you know, slut or whatever by her friend, you know, who spits on her in her coffin, which I'm like, all right, listen, like I get that you're pissed. You don't spit on a dead body. Like, whatever. So that was just a lot, but I would just wish that there would have been more to the female characters, because there's so many male characters and there's plenty of female gods to choose from. So he could have included more and he chose not to, so that was disappointing. I was surprised that he ended up being Odin's son. Gerald was not happy about that. He was like, that's stupid. I didn't see it coming. So that was kind of fun. I liked it. I didn't hate it. There is a lot of just like weird stuff that happens. I loved the Egyptian gods, that was a great thing, and I loved when we went into the Underworld. You know how I feel about the death gods and the Chthonic gods and all of that, so when we go in the Underworld and he's like between, and he's in the in-between, that's great for me. I had a lot of fun with that. You have Anubis, you have all of them, you have like a river Styx, but also the Egyptian version of it. All of that was fun. That was a great time. Was his time on the tree very meandering? Yes. but a lot of this book is so meandering. So that's another thing I'm excited about too with the show, is I think it's going to tighten up some of the things where you're just kind of like, what's going on here? Like a lot of the time that he's spending in Wisconsin in that town, which I know it's kind of like a side plot of like this murder mystery and that happens and that's another god and like you have these small town gods and whatever. That's cool, but it was like, we are spending a lot of time in this very boring town, very boring place, and I just want to get back to what Odin and them are doing. So can we do that? Like that was a little much for me. So I'm interested to see how the show potentially tightens up some of these ends that were just left to hang in the wind all willy-nilly. But I like how in the end Laura became her own character and he kind of released her from everything, and she ended up being one of the people to kind of thwart the whole big plan, and it was just overall a really good read. I like Neil Gaiman's storytelling. I like the American gods, the culture, all that stuff. So I overall really enjoyed this, and I will continue to read things that Gaiman puts out, and I will definitely be watching the show whenever I have access to it. So comment down below, let me know what you thought of American Gods. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!